Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, we do not intend for it to be long, but we do want to bring this out to the people for edification purposes. Brothers and sisters, this is called Good Ol Edom. And the point and part of this, brothers and sisters, is to talk about the history of the Edomites in relation with the Israelites, and in part the history of the Edomites in relation to the world. Brothers and sisters, I do not claim to know everything, and I am open to constructive criticism. We hope and pray that you all are well and will be better. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. This is on the channels, Mordeh Yeshaya Torah Lessons, as well, brothers and sisters, as Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons, as well as Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons Part 2. All right, so without any further ado, we're going to, as is the custom, shut down the camera. And brothers and sisters, why do I do that? Because I hope and pray that people will prefer, if anything, to watch the screen itself, to ask questions in the comment section itself. And no disrespect, as opposed to just, no disrespect in saying that. So like, I get to see you, that kind of thing. What I've realized is many brothers and sisters who prefer to just, oh, okay, I get to see you, in many cases don't take out the time to understand what you're talking about. You understand? So we don't want that in this particular case. We want people to feel comfortable, bring your pens, your pads, your paper, and as is known, as time goes on, share the links so that way the channel will have more people speaking upon such a matter and not just me, myself. All right, I'm definitely open to that for edification purposes. Okay, so we're going to, brothers and sisters, take down the band in this particular matter, if we will, right? And deal too with the overlay matter. No, I'm going to, sorry. I'm gonna put the band back up, but take down the overlay matter in this particular case. All righty. So let us continue, brothers and sisters, in this particular matter. Thank you all for that. Let us, if you hear me well and you are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If you hear me well and you are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. One of the things I want to get vested in concerning the platform, concerning the channels, is not starting later than I initially intended and wanting to give people something worth their time, brothers and sisters, in that particular matter. And I take these things to heart. I believe that a brother is bringing forth knowledge according to what my teachers have taught me and what I was able to sit under them in this particular matter and in this particular case. So in taking this as serious as one does, it's not about playing games, it's not about emotions or feelings. And at the same token, it is about getting knowledge out there to the people for those brothers and sisters who are interested in such. All right, so if we will in this particular matter, all right. All right. Let us, brothers and sisters, get into this. Thank you all for participating. Shalom, Shema, Shalom, Yirmiyahu. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Thank you for that. All right. This presentation is brought to you from Danite Publications. We hope everyone is well and will be better. We ask you all to get your pens, paper and pads and take notes. We ask you to subscribe to the channel and to check the description. Thank you for that, brothers and sisters. Let us continue. After the Greek Empire fell in the 2nd century BCE, we see the Romans come into power. Now, the Greek Empire fell, correct me if I'm wrong, in two different kind of aspects. One in 168 BCE, and then another one in 146 BCE. Okay, let's continue. All right. The vision of Daniel the prophet in Daniel 7 verse 6 is Greece, and in Daniel 7 verse 7 is Rome. The fourth kingdom is Rome. The Edomites from the time of the Babylonians were trying to get into the land of Israel, and Ezekiel 35 speaks of this. The Edomite Herod married into the Maccabean line. Herod was supported by the Romans. Pompey of Rome in 63 BCE made Jerusalem a Roman province. So, brothers and sisters, in what we've just discussed is some history concerning this kind of matter and concerning this kind of subject. All right. And let us continue in this for edification purposes. Subscribe to the channel. A brother is asking you all. This is again on the platform, as well as my Facebook Live from the way it's looking, and so forth and so on. For those who are interested, I'm going to type that in. The Facebook name is Yeshaya Author Danite. All right. And brothers and sisters, from the way it's looking and seeing right now, I would like to make this become public, or at least to my friends online in this particular manner. All right. So thank you all for that. This shows us that the Edomites and the Philistines were allied against the Israelites. The prophet who was major in that time was Isaiah. Now, let's look and see what we're talking about, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes. At that time, the king Ahaz sent unto the kings of Assyria to help him. For again, the Edomites had come and smitten Judah and carried away captives. So the portion that we're talking about, brothers and sisters, comes, and I'm going to type that in, right? Comes from 2nd, all right, Chronicles, chapter 28. So we see the Edomite people as well as the Philistines were in cahoots, for the lack of a better term, regarding the oppression of the Israelites. Now this dates back to the 8th century BCE. And what we're talking about, the Philistines also had invaded the cities of the low country and of the south of Judah, and had taken Bet Shemesh and Aijalon and Gederot and Shoko with the villages thereof, and Timnah and the villages thereof, Gimzo also and the villages thereof, and they dwelt there. So the Philistines coming, brothers and sisters, from the western part of where the Israelites were, and the Edomites coming from the southeastern part of where Judah was, as we are going to show in the presentation, was coming in cahoots against the Israelites, mainly of the tribe of Judah, or in this particular case called the Southern Kingdom. Again, this is dating to the 8th century BCE. If there's any questions or comments concerning what we're talking about, please feel free to type it into the chat. Now, I would like to sit there, brothers and sisters, with the time allotted, circle the areas that's shown on the map that we're talking about. All right, you have Soko in here, and brothers and sisters, you have from the Philistines, which is, you can see on this side, going in and attacking Judah. Edom is further down here, all right, beyond the other side of the Dead Sea, or the Live Sea, as some call it. And they were coming up in this way against the Israelites. All right, so Israel was being attacked on both sides. Let's continue. Psalms 137 and Lamentations 4. Remember, O Yah, against the children of Edom, the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. Now, this raise is not talking about raise it as in building it, but more so an old English term of spelling it. Raise meaning destroy, meaning plunder, meaning cause it to fall. All right. That is something that they wanted to do in this particular case. So let's look. Judah and Edom on a map. This is where we can see where Judah is, and this is where Edom is. So the Philistines, brothers and sisters, shown, at least I'm going to show with an arrow, is further west of where the tribe of Judah was. So again, you had Edom coming from one aspect up against Judah, and the Philistines coming where it doesn't show you on the map, this way against Judah. All right, as the book of Chronicles shows. The Edomites wanted the land of Israel. And we pointed this out in the presentation that we did called The Matter of Palestine. When you go into this particular channel, Mordeh Yeshaya, History Lessons. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, thou dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup shall pass over unto thee also, and thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Making thyself naked can be taken, say, in one and or two ways. You're going to be exposed spiritually, morally, and this is why you find it saying concerning Edom, is there no more wise men in Teman? You understand? And say in that particular manner and in that particular case, right? And it can mean it in other aspects as well. But regardless of whatever one might understand making yourself naked means, you're going to be bare. You're not going to be prosperous and so forth. All right. I was listening to the brothers on 21st Century Maccabees, all right, which is operated, correct me if I'm wrong, by the brother Chief Shama and his family. And something that the brother Chief Mikael pointed out that struck me when I was watching it earlier today was people become like animals. Animals don't wear clothes. You understand? And people today are walking around naked and not wearing clothes. We become like animals in that particular case, and that's not a good thing. All right? So just want to point that out, where Judah and Edom was geographically, where the Philistines were, and how the book of Chronicles, chapter 20, 2 Chronicles 28, shows them, excuse me, in cahoots with each other in that case. Let's go on. When the Gentiles in the surrounding area heard that the altar had been rebuilt and the sanctuary had been rededicated, they became greatly angered. Now, this is coming from, brothers and sisters, I'm going to type it in. All right. First, Maccabees. All right, chapter 5. Now, this is after the situation with the Bet Zur matter in 164, 165 BCE, when the Israelites retook the things that was taken from them. You understand? And dedicated it and had it as a ceremony called what we call today Hanukkah or Hanukkah. So let's see what it says. They determined to destroy the descendants of Jacob who were living in their midst, and they began to persecute and massacre the people. Then Judas made war on the descendants of Esau at Akrab Batanim in Idumea, because they were besieging the Israelites. He inflicted on them a massive defeat, overcame them, and took their spoils. He also remembered the wickedness of the sons of Bian, who had proved to be a snare and a stumbling block to the people, with their ambushes on the roads, having blockaded them in their towns. He vowed to effect their total destruction. Then he set ablaze their towers and all the people in them. So, brothers and sisters, what do we want to point out, all right, with the highlighter in this about the descendants of Esau, right? Idumea is the Roman term for Esau or Edom. Any questions or comments concerning this? Again, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you for that, brothers and sisters. All right. Judas Maccabees, after defeating the Greeks in a battle of Bet Zur, excuse me, went up and made battle with the Edomites. who were called the Idumeans as time went on. The Maccabees eventually were known as the Hasmoneans, and the Edomites were known as the Idumeans. And we're going to prove, going into the history of the Edomites along with the Romans, how they sided against the Israelites in favor of the Romans. But the Romans, though they were friendly to the Edomites, excuse me, were not friends of the Edomites. Friend and friendly are two different things. Just want to point that out. All right, next slide. Thank you. Well, let's show this. Next part. Edom, Antipater, the father of Herod, was an Edomite. And Julius Caesar were friends, or should I say friendly. Right? The Edomite, Antipater, the father of Herod, and Julius Caesar, who was a Roman and Italian, a Geographic person, were friends. All right? Julius Caesar, whom we just mentioned, and Herod, who was the son of Antipater. So what do we want to point out? Right here, Antipater had Herod as his son. Julius Caesar, an Italian or European, was friends with both of those Edomites, as history will tell you. Edom, Herod, that is, the son of Antipater, was friends with Augustus. Now, Julius Caesar, brothers and sisters, was a precursor, of course, in his own right, but he was a predecessor, not directly, but one of them of Augustus. When, brothers and sisters, the Edomites lost, excuse me, when the people of Rome went to battle, and you have one person defeating the other, what are we talking about? In the Battle of Actium, brothers and sisters, Mark Antony, the husband of Cleopatra, lost to Augustus. Augustus was named at that time Octavian. This takes us all the way down into the time of 31 BCE. So what do we care to point out, if we will, real quick, right? This situation with Edom, which later on became known as Idumeans, right? This is in the 7th century, 8th century into the 7th century BCE. And what we're seeing right here, brothers and sisters, with Julius Caesar, Herod, Antipater, the father of Herod, this is centuries later. This takes you, brothers and sisters, into the 1st century BCE. So we're talking over 500-600 years of these people being friends in cahoots with each other, in part against the Israelites. That was always the matter of Esau. Let me make a quick correction. Rome didn't really come to power and start dealing with Esau until time later on. But anywhere Esau was, he definitely was an influence to get other nations against Israel or against Israel. And this is what we want to talk about for edification purposes. Sidebar, somebody asked me in part, what do I think about what's going on over there in the East? First, I think the media lies. One. Secondly, knowing, not to be haughty, a little bit of history, you have two different people that are fighting for a land that truly, no disrespect, does not belong, say, to the other in that case. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Palestinians are not the Arabians. So though they have all the same ideology as far as religion goes under Islam, ethnically, they're not even the same people, though they look alike and speak a similar language. All right? So these are things we care just to point out for reference purposes. Let's continue, brothers and sisters. Edom and Rome were attempting to rid Israel. When Antipater died of poison, Mark Antony made Herod, his brother, and his brother Fazael tetrarchs, that is to say, ruler of 4 particular towns or cities. Mark Antony lost to Augustus, so Herod made friends with Augustus. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we again just care to point out for reference purposes. All right, you have here, all right, for edification purposes, we want to get these presentations out there to the people, keep the channel active. Hopefully, brothers and sisters will subscribe, comment, like, share. This information is being brought to you. I'm open to constructive criticism and so forth. So Mark Antony lost to Augustus, who at that time was called Octavian. So what does Herod do? He becomes friends, brothers and sisters, with Augustus. Esau was always trying to be, quote, that middleman. You understand? He was always trying to sit there and follow, where can I sit there and get some kind of recognition? And he found it being in world powers. And we're going to show that as we go along. Julius Caesar gave Israelite lands away to the Edomites. Now, the lands that we're talking about is lands that would be in the ancient world in the northern kingdom of Israel. Julius Caesar becoming an eventual successor, not directly of Pompey of Rome. We discussed him already in presentations and so forth and so on, right? We have it to where the guy who was killed by Brutus and his friends, the same Julius Caesar, right, gave Israelite lands away to the Edomites. So we can see how they were in cahoots one with another. And today, you might recall that as gentrification, where they just take one group of people out of an area for another. Remember we went over the portion, did Jacob steal Esau's blessing? Well, it says in there, when Edom gets rid of Jacob as being over them, the Edomites were already living by their sword. So this is what they do as a group and as a people, being known by different names as history went on. Kohen Mikael continues to say in his book, that is to say the book we see there, Israelites and Jews, a significant difference. When the Greeks and Romans invaded the East, the Edomites migrated to Europe and assimilated with other cultures, carrying their acquired Israelite traits with them. Now, there's different ways to understand how the Edomites even understood about the ways of Israel. First, they saw Israelites doing law under the timing of King David, because King David conquered the Edomites. Secondly, remember Esau living by a sword, since Isaac spoke about that since Genesis chapter 27. We read about them getting from under the oppression, for the lack of a better term, or from under the rulership, for the lack of a better term, of the Israelites, siding with the Philistines to go against the Israelites. And they wanted land. So they did the same thing under the centuries later, under the time when Rome was coming up as a power. Now, the difference when Augustus came to Rome, that's when the Roman Empire came to exist. Before that, it was called the Roman Republic. Just as much as when George Washington came up, all right, you had it to where it's called the United States of America. And before that, it was called colonial America. So these are things we care to point out for reference purposes. One may want to understand the matter of geography, names, dates, times, and places, as well, brothers and sisters, as a situation referred to as an anachronism. Look that up when you get the chance. All right. So now, Kohen Mikael, my Hebrew teacher, in his book made this point about the Edomites migrating to Europe and assimilating with other cultures. Why will they not go, brothers and sisters, in their own time over to Europe? What's going to stop them? Let's continue, brothers and sisters. In his book, The 13th Tribe, Arthur Koestler states, in speaking of King Joseph for the Khazars, Joseph then proceeds, now this is Joseph, king of the Khazars, not Joseph in the Tanakh or the scriptures, then proceeds to provide a genealogy of his people, though a fierce Jewish nationalist, proud of wealth in the, quote, scepter of Judah. He cannot and does not claim for them Semitic descent. He traces their ancestry not to Shem, but to Noah's third son, Japheth, or more precisely to Japheth's grandson, Togarmah, the ancestor of all Turkish tribes. We have found in the family registers of our fathers that Togarmah had 10 sons, and the names of their offspring are as follows: Uagar, Dosur, Avars, Huns, Basilai, Tarniak, Khazars, Zagora, Bulgars, Sabir. We are the sons of Khazar the seventh. Now, during the time that this book here, the 13th tribe, is talking about, is when they, in Europe, being the third world of their day, converted not to Islam or Christianity, but preferred quote unquote Judaism. How did what is referred to as Judaism get into Europe, if not by one and or two ways? Remember, the Edomites, we just pointed out from Kohen Mikhail's book, assimilated with the Italians / the Romans and went into Europe that way. Another way was by the Israelites who were already in Europe, taken there by Titus, you understand, and taken, correct me if I'm wrong, before that by Ptolemy, you understand, and what was going on in that particular matter and so forth. They were pushed out the year after Hadrian of Rome died in 138 AD or 138 CE. Then you had the Roman Emperor Septimius Severus, who many say was an African emperor. Doesn't mean there was Israel, doesn't mean he was not. But one of the things we care to point out, brothers and sisters, is that the Israelites, due to making proselytes, that's to say people wanting to follow your ways, even though that's not of the same ethnicity, converts, if you will, you understand? They pushed the Israelites up out of Europe in many cases in that way. So the only way, say, after that, by the time we speak about here, this King Joseph of the Khazars, which dates, brothers and sisters, to the era, the time frame of the 8th century AD, not BCE, but AD, brothers and sisters, you can begin to sit there and see what this is in this particular case. What happens when this is pointed out? You have it to where there are people that will say that the Israelite story did not exist. If the white man is not the true Jews, then they can't exist according to some. There is a book that's called The Bible Myth, and I mentioned this book inside a book that I wrote called Egypt Talk and Writing. And in that book, the thesis of that author is, I think the guy's last name is Greenberg or something of that nature, is that the 12 tribes of Israel was a myth, is a myth, and that there's no Hebrews to be found in antiquity, even though on this channel, as in the books that a brother wrote, as on many other platforms, we discuss the reality of the Israelites. What that book does not talk about, it seems, is the evidence of the Israelites and so forth. You know, like what Tacitus spoke about as we're going over in this platform. Check the description, brothers and sisters. All right. So these Khazars would have had to have been taught by the Edomites that were, as Kohen Mikhail pointed out, acquiring some of their Israelite traits with them, bringing it over into Europe. And thus you begin to see what you see in this particular way. When the Torah speaks upon the laws shall be a frontlet, this is why you see them wear, brothers and sisters, this kind of stuff that some may call phylacteries maybe or so, as you see being circled there. That is not what the Lord is talking about when it speaks about a frontlet, which in Hebrew is totafot. That's not what that's saying in that particular case. Regarding this symbol here, some people will say it's the Magen David or the Shield of David. Some call it the Star of David. Some debate it back and forth and so forth. On my platform and channel for some years, a brother not understanding whether it was, quote, used and what it was used for. I personally, this is me speaking upon myself, do not use it nor subscribe to it. You understand? In part because there are so many symbolisms for the house of Israel. We got the Kai symbol. We got the menorah symbol. We got the symbol of any Hebrew relic that you want to bring out there that cannot be disproved as far as it goes in that particular manner and so forth. All right. Now, whether or not, brothers and sisters, this particular symbol that you see being circled, right, the Star of David, or some will say the Shield of David, is that a symbol of Molech that Amos the prophet talked about when it says, check what you cheat on, the star of your God, what you made to yourselves? I cannot say yes or no if that's what Amos the prophet is talking about. But until further knowledge and until we don't have the access to other matters that can be proven in the scriptures for Israelites references, I don't understand the point in having to use that symbol in that case. Just wanted to point that out. All right, so let's go on, brothers and sisters. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. The Idumeans were the Edomites. The Maccabees, as noted above, attempted to keep the Edomites from their territory. That's to say, from the territory of the Israelites. It was the nephew of Judah Maccabee, all right, named John Hyrcanus, the son of Simon Maccabeus. For whatever reason, he taught the Edomites the customs of the Israelites. as Kohen Mikael pointed out, the Edomites, when the Greeks and Romans invaded the East, went to Europe. The Edomites mixed with the European nations, and then we see the result we see today now in the land of Israel among some of the authentic Israelites. Now, let me just say this here, if I may, for reference purposes, right? You have, brothers and sisters, people who are called brown, right? And Egypt, Arabians, referred to as being brown, right? Jordanians, referred to as being brown. Palestinians, referred to as being brown. Arabians, referred to as being brown people. How in the midst of all of these brown people, these European Jews who are called by default white people just happen to mix in right into that particular case? Why aren't you also called brown? Why are you so different? Because you're not the people, no disrespect intended, of that land. You understand? Now, this is not to say that other nations cannot serve the Creator. Of course, they can't do it like Israel, because Israel has a particular portion. But Israel, we are the light. We're not supposed to have to follow the ways of other people, but more so they come into the light of what we are about. You understand, in that particular case, and so forth. All right? So let us, brothers and sisters, get into this. By the 4th century BC or BCE, the traditional Edomite territory south of the Wadi Arnon had come under the domination of a new group, the Nabateans, who were a semi-nomadic Arabian or Arab people. Then the Edomites gradually shifted across the Araba in a region of the northern fringe of the Negev, meaning south, and into southern Judah, where they came to be known as Idumeans. So, brothers and sisters, what are we talking about while showing this map here? If I can be heard well and people in good spirits, please type in, I'm asking, the number 4. We see here, brothers and sisters, right? We want to show by circling it, if we will, right? We see here the land of Canaan. Now, I'm going to use a different color to denote the difference. I'm going to erase this. So the marks that I'm making will be noted by a different color. I'm going to use black, if we will. Thank you for that, my brother Yirmiyahu in this case. Canaan. Right? When Israel left out of Egypt, I've been to contend that they did not go this way as shown in many cases. All right? Just wanted to point that out. So what I have been pointing out, like in the Egypt book and so forth and so on, right, is this. When the Israelites left up out of the land of Egypt, right, they went out of Egypt this way, brothers and sisters, and went this way. And remember, by the time you get in the Bible in Numbers, the 21st chapter, they done already ran into the people of Esau. Any questions about this? Please let me know. All right. Now, Edom didn't let them pass through. So the Israelites went up and around this way. So now you begin to see them by Moab. All right. Now, Moses died. May he rest in peace in the land of Moab, in the plains of Moab, in that particular case, which is on the east side of this river here, which is the Jordan River. All right. So the Israelites making their exodus did not go, and I'm going to show in a different color. All right. Hopefully people are understanding what I'm saying. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it in. The Israelites did not. I'm going to show a different color. All right. Just sorry about that. Erase the yellow because I wanted to stand out. So I will use the pen and the color being this here. The Israelites did not go down here, then up this way into the land of Canaan. That's not how. What we're seeing right here, brothers and sisters, in biblical times, right, being shown there, is I'm going to show it by erasing this, right? What we're seeing right there, brothers and sisters, with the pen right here is called the way of the Philistines. And now this is the question that I've been asking, because to the people saying that the land of Israel is in southern Africa or Western Hemisphere, where is the way of the Philistines that Genesis, pardon me, that the book of Exodus chapter 13 talks about? When Israel left forth out of Egypt, They didn't go this way up into the land of Canaan. This area you see here is called the way of the Philistines. Exodus says they didn't go that way, though it was near. At least the children of Israel see war and go back into Egypt. So we already see that they done ran into Edom, ran into Moab, and by the time Joshua takes leadership, they're crossing the Jordan, which is this over here. The tribes that are already on this side, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, are already settled in their land. See, these are things that we care to point out, brothers and sisters. So here's the question. If you're saying that the land of Israel is over here in the west, where are these lands at in the west? It's not in the west, brothers and sisters. We've been in the west too long. You know what I mean? To where we think it's home and it's not. So let's look. The Roman Vespasian was friends with Agrippa of Edom and with Melchus of Nabatea. It should be noted that the Nabateans were of the children of Ishmael's son Nebaioth. Now let's look, brothers and sisters, right? In this particular case here, Idumea, we see being circled there, right? Now, brothers and sisters, if this was here the way of the Philistines, and this here is Philistia, Ekron, Gaza, Ashkelon, we're familiar with all of that from the Bible, right? Isaac dwelt in Gerar, which is not far from the Philistines. Keep on going down, you're going to get into Egypt. All right? Keep on going down, you're going to get into Egypt. This, what you're seeing here, is the Mediterranean Sea, all right, called the Great Sea, in the book of Numbers, as well as in the book of Daniel. So I'm going to erase this and collaborate on what I'm attempting to convey. Let's look here. All of the stuff that I marked was erased. That what you see on the left-hand side in the red, that came on the map already. Here we see Idumea. That's Edom, as we've been pointing out. They eventually, after getting into the land of Israel, wanting it for centuries already, they eventually set shop up for those who studied upon this into Hebron. All right. Now, we already spoke upon, if we will, about the matter of the Khazars and this right here being from the people that come out of the line of Japhet. All right. This is not for racial matters. This is just pointing things out in this particular case. The registry of their fathers does not go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. And because it doesn't, when black people, our people, start talking about being the children of Israel, people will actually try to say that if the white man ain't that, they essentially don't exist, which shows you people don't study. And I don't mean to sound funny in saying people don't study. So let's look. You have Edom being shown on the left-hand side, being circled here, right? In this case here. How did Edom become an Idumea? We see now over here, because time went on. This is why we wanted to point out what happened in 2 Chronicles 28 about the Edomites and the Philistines coming in cahoots against the Israelites. This is what Psalms 137 talks about when it talks about Babylon that ought to be destroyed, and Edom. Oh, y'all remember what Edom said. See, this wasn't a culture of forgive, 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 forgive. That's not a culture. That's a matter of being taken advantage of. You understand? I remember sitting with the little princess, my little one, and we was watching a video or so, right? And in the video, the little girl kept on playing with the cat. So eventually the cat struck back. Animals, brothers and sisters, don't want to just sit there and be played around and being made to play as a toy all the time. They say those who deal with horses, if you're playing with a horse, they'll let you know if you understand its lingo, its ways, its ruach or its spirit. The game time is over, it's done. People who own dogs talk about that, like this is the way the dog is feeling right now. This is the way the cat is feeling right now. So, brothers and sisters, why will it be hard to understand how Noah, quote, got the animals in the ark? Isn't so much maybe that he got them in the ark, but when the animals being in tune with the Most High, knowing what was coming, and they seen another creation of Yah, this case being a human, building the ark, that must be for us, for our protection. See, people, and this is not to sound arrogant, who may not have, say, that connection and closeness with the Most High God, they ask questions and being spiteful by saying, well, how in the world can Noah get those animals in the ark? Easy. They seen him building it. They knew where it was. Where I stay at, brothers and sisters, there's an animal that comes by. It gets fed things that the animal eats. You understand? Yakina, if you in the Facebook, peace to you. Elder Saraya, Ben Yosef, and as well as TJ Mickle, and anyone else in the Facebook group, Shalom. Thank you for joining us on the Facebook Live. This is something that I'm trying to do, seeing how it works and so forth and so on. Those on the Facebook Live, if you are hearing me well, please type in the number 3. If you're hearing me well on that, please type in the number 3. Thank you for that. All right. And brothers and sisters, let's look. Idumea, being already, we pointed out, being friends, all right, with the Romans is how they got that. Julius Caesar was part of that matter. Let's continue on for edification purposes. Now, conclusion. This wasn't a very long presentation. Wasn't intended to be. In Rome, 69 BCE. In Madrid, 1552 AD. In Paris, 1790. In London, 1814. In Berlin, in 1871. In St. Petersburg, in 1881. The aspect of how Edom went into Europe as, quote, Jews. All right, thank you all for typing in the number 3 in that particular case. This is Petra. I have a cousin, not to get into personal, all right? I have a cousin that travels all the time. All the time, this lady and her husband, all right, cousins, if I may go there, of me and Yakina, always traveling. And when I was down south talking to this particular cousin, I said, oh, you went to Petra? Yeah. Like, I'm not interested in the history like that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just let you deal with the tour guides. Now, when me and my lady went to Egypt, we had a tour guide. And this is not to sound belligerent or something. The tour guide, when the brother was talking about the writings of the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, the New Kingdom of Egypt, it was like, you know what, I'm going to go and sit down over here and text because y'all seem to know exactly what y'all want and what you're into. It's the same thing, not trying to sound or talk business on the Shabbat. If you're going to a job interview, look up the job thing before you go in there. That might impress the person doing the interview. You understand? Like, okay, I work in the kind of like the security world. So if I'm gonna go to an interview, I'm going to look up the building. I'm going to look up the history of it. I'm going to look up to see what companies are in it. So that way you go in knowing something already, brothers and sisters. The children of Israel, when they went into the land of Canaan, they already knew certain things about it already. Canaan is not like Mizraim. That's how you know the geography and the climate, the weather and the culture cannot be of the Western Hemisphere. Egypt depends on the Ta'ale in Hebrew, which in Egyptian they refer to as the overflow of the Eteru. Eteru is the Nile River. Me and my lady was on the Nile River when we was inside of Egypt. And it looks pretty nice at nighttime, by the way, but that's neither here nor there in that particular case. The Egyptians' climate depended upon the overflow of the Nile for their vegetation. The book of Josephus, speaking about the Israelites as slaves, said that they made the Israelites dug into the area around the Nile so that way they can have channels for the irrigation. Same thing was done prior to that with the river, the Tigris and Euphrates, by the people called the Sumerians. You understand? Sidebar, archaeology. One of the reasons why I love it in time frame. Israelites was made to build bricks. The brick pyramids came during the Middle Kingdom. Brothers and sisters, the brick pyramids came during the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, if we will. Before that, they was dealing with stone, and after that, they was dealing with stone. When you get into Dynasty 18, which I will state is after the timing of the Exodus. All right, so brothers and sisters, I would like to, with the time allotted, all right, take out the time, if I may, and show something for reference purposes, if we will. All right. And this is something that a brother is happy to show, and so forth. Let's look, brothers and sisters. I'm going to turn the camera on, all right, so it can be seen what it is in that particular matter and in that particular case. All right, turning on the camera. I want to show some pictures regarding for edification purposes, if we will. Right, this is a picture of me and my lady in Egypt. We was by the matter of the museum, all right, in that particular case, if I may show that for reference purposes. This is me and my lady Sarai inside of the pyramid of Ma'akare of Dynasty 4. You understand? You want to know what happened to the true Egyptians? We saw some of them when we was in Egypt. But when you go into Alfred Butler's book called The Arab Invasion of Ancient Egypt, it gets into how they were pushed in part into the Sudan. This is a picture of a brother by the Merneptah Stela. Now, this is not to boast or anything of that sort, brothers and sisters. The Merneptah Stela, all right, brothers and sisters, is the matter that shows Israel was spoken of inside of ancient Egypt. Now, we Israelites don't need the Egyptians to talk about us in order for reference purposes, but it does not hurt either. For edification purposes, let's show this. Hopefully everybody is well and will be better. All right. This right here is the Passover papyrus. This dates to the 5th century BCE. See? That's the Passover papyrus, brothers and sisters. Now, remembering that that dates, brothers and sisters, to the matter of the 5th century BCE. Why does that become important? First off, no disrespect, Israel was keeping holy days outside of the land, though it cannot only properly be kept inside of the Holy Land. It does not mean that you do not commemorate and keep the culture up of your people. You do not sit there and eat unleavened. You do not sit there and eat leavened bread talking about, well, we're not in Jerusalem. That's not intelligent. All right. What I just showed was the Passover papyrus. And I'm going to read what it says in there, brothers and sisters. And I would like you all to pay attention if you can. And I say this not to sound condescending. We are all grown for the most part in here. All right. And let's see what it says in this. The Passover papyrus that I just showed says this. To my brother Yadoniah. Yadonia means the Most High will judge. Yadon from Hadim, which means to judge. And his colleagues, the Jewish garrison, your brother Hananiah. Hananiah means God is gracious from the word Hanan. The welfare of my brothers may God seek at all times. Now in this year, the 5th year of King Darius, word was sent unto the king Artemis, saying, authorize a festival of unleavened bread for the Jewish garrison. Brothers and sisters, if this is dated, all right, to 419 or so BCE, what do I would like to point out in that particular case? If I can be heard inside the Facebook group, please type in the 3. If I can be heard on the YouTube, please type in the number 4. That right there that we just showed, brothers and sisters, shuts down any debate that people want to bring to Israelites about the authenticity of Israelites in antiquity. Because sometimes, like the Kemetic communities or whatever, show me many people keeping the Tanakh, you know, and so forth. We just showed, brothers and sisters, all right, the Passover papyrus. I'm going to show that again. And I'm going to show the books where I've been reading from to get into this. All right. This here, again, showing it is the Passover papyrus, dated to 419 BCE. Who was ruling in that time? Persia. Because see, Greece didn't come to power until the timing under Alexander in 333, when he defeated the people in the Ipsus battle, and then you had the Battle of Gargamella in 331 BCE. BCE years count down. So brothers and sisters, having read out of this book here, this is called the Near East and Text and Pictures Volume 1, about the translation of that Passover papyrus, right? It is dated to 419 BCE. So this is a good 80 or so years before the Greeks, which was the first white nation to get to great power in the world, brothers and sisters, in this particular case. And there were records of Israelites doing the Israelite holy days. So no conscious community going around catching cases, shooting the Bible, and now doing prison time because people thought that was funny. Of course you thought it was funny until Leviticus 18 tells you not to deal, brothers and sisters, with a woman and her child. So the guy that was shooting up the Bible that people thought was funny, now he's doing incarceration time, is going to be known as a sex offender. That's the portion that you deserved. Maybe even worse, not trying to play judge. You understand? But brothers and sisters, in looking upon that, these are things we care to point out to show our purpose, to show our existence. This is not something that started with the schools on 1 West in 1969 under Abba Bivens. It's not something that started, brothers and sisters, with the chiefmen in B'nai Zakin coming out of Chicago. It's not something that started, brothers and sisters, with the elders, Prophet Cherry, and later on Crowdy, that came out of Tennessee. Shout out to my younger sisters that live in Chattanooga. You understand? And shout out to the people that I know of in Kansas, where this knowledge in the 1890s was not unheard of. What we're talking about dates back to the timing before the Greeks came into power. So how in the world can the Greeks be the authors of the Torah? Ptolemy Philadelphus, or Ptolemy II, commissioned Israelites that was already in Egypt to go to Jerusalem to the library to sit there and get things and bring it back over there for his library. And then we see that library in Alexandria being burnt as time went on. But brothers and sisters, what is referred to as the Septuagint does not contain the New Testament. You understand? What is referred to as the Septuagint speaks about the keeping of Passover. Now, certain things in there read a little different, but that comes with records. You understand? You might read a number being different between the Masoretic text, the King James Version, and the Septuagint. But you're not going to read a difference saying these are the Lord's statutes and commandments. The Tanakh standard that we have as the Masoretic text, which I'm going to show, this is a book my mother bought me when I was 15. I'm now 43. Think the Most High still got this. It's kind of used, if you will, the tape thing on the side and so forth. But this is the Tanakh, or the said Old Testament, that my mother, may she rest in peace, got me when I was 15 years old, right? In the Septuagint, which I bought my own copy at the age of 21, which is interesting because I'm going to talk about something that happened that particular day in Barnes and Nobles. It says, thou shalt not commit adultery, nor shalt thou murder. The Tanakh says, thou shalt not murder, nor shalt thou commit adultery. It's telling you, regardless of whatever order it's in, don't do it. You understand? So those things are not contradictions. You just make sure you're not in contradictory against the laws of the Most High God. That's something we care to point out for reference purposes. What else do we care to point out, brothers and sisters, in this particular matter with the timing allotted? All right, let's look at this, if we will. Sometimes they try to come to Israelites by saying, well, you know, the Egyptians were careful writers, and you don't see nothing in there about Israel. First off, again, we don't need the Egyptians to confirm us. Because what we got to ask, and there's no disrespect, is why is it that the prophecies in the Old Testament, Ezekiel 29, happened to the Egyptians? What prophecy did the Egyptians have, brothers and sisters? Correct me if I'm wrong, besides what they refer to as the prophecy of Nefertiti, which we're going to talk about in a second. Remember in Josephus, when it says that the Israelites built pyramids? This is an example during the era of Senusret of Dynasty 12 of what we're talking about. Now, when me and my lady was in Egypt, we was actually southwest of where the Israelites were. What is called Goshen in the Bible? Shout out to my brother Rob Zuridan in the Goshen community in Georgia, right? What is called Goshen in the Bible in Greek is called Kesan. It was called later on Avaris. Before that, the area was known as Hutbawet, and that is pointing out, brothers and sisters, inside the book Egypt Talking Writing. Israelites in the 1990s or before were noted, and I say this in no disrespect intended, that, okay, that's good, but that doesn't matter. As time went on, it became important for Israelites to prove their stance, archaeological ways. We've been going over prophecy, which is the top evidence of it all, because all you got to do is look at the situation with our people and read Deuteronomy 28. Not that hard to figure it out. You understand? But a lot of people go through things in societies. The Ashantis and Igbos were not the only ones put in slave ships and brought over to one place to the next. You understand? Turks and Russians used to do that with slave ships, if you will, in history. But the Turks and Russians that we're talking about doesn't go back to the line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Jewish people that we spoke about, brothers and sisters, looking at this right here in the Khazar matter, right? This is a question that I've been asking as we have gone over things. When is it that you claim to be the people that we're going to read of right here? I'm going to read something, and this is from the Tanakh. This is the very book that my Imam, may she rest in peace, got me when I was 15. We're going to be reading, I'm going to ask if the brother Yirmiyahu can type it in. Jeremiah chapter 16, please, as we close out this particular presentation with the timing allotted. Jeremiah 16, verse 10. And here is what it says. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt tell this people all these words, and they shall say unto thee, wherefore hath Yah pronounced all this great evil against us? Or what is our iniquity? Or what is our sin that we have committed against Yah Eloheinu, the Lord our God? Then thou shalt say unto them, because your fathers have forsaken me, says Yah, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. Forsaken is mentioned twice in verse 11. Goes on to say, and ye have done worse than your fathers, for behold, you walk everyone after the stubbornness of his evil heart, so that ye have not hearkened unto me, and ye have not hearkened unto me. So, brothers and sisters, do these people that you see known in history as the Khazars claim to be the people that Jeremiah talked about? Because one of the things that they asked, quote, the black Hebrew Israelites, which we don't call ourselves that, we know that's a byword. And even my teacher used to say we should just say Israel or Israelites, not necessarily Hebrew Israelites. He used to say it was redundant. May Mora Yosef rest in peace. But for edification purposes, when they try to say, quote, the black Hebrew Israelites, putting a said color before a language and putting that before a understanding of a national people. We claim that sad part of history. We claim that some of our ancestors were the harlots that went to Solomon and said, kill the baby and be neither mine nor hers. When Lamentations talks about the daughter of my people have become cruel like the jackal in the wilderness. We claim that particular matter. We claim, brothers and sisters, sadly, the situation that happened, I'm going to send you to the battle, tell the men to fall back, and then you'll be put to death because I got your wife pregnant, Uriah. We don't sit there and say that's not part of our history as Israelites. So let's see what happened in verse 13. Therefore, I will cast you out of this land into a land that ye have not known, neither ye nor your fathers. And then you shall serve other gods day and night, for as much as I will show you no favor. So when they say all the tribes in Western Africa that you're trying to sit there and say are Israelites, so you're worshiping idols. So did Solomon worship idols. So did Jeroboam. So did Ahab. So did some of the kings of Judah. See, not worshiping idols is a mark and credit between you and the Most High. That does not make you any closer to being of the lineal house of Israel. So what happens when this book is mentioned, the 13th tribe, which I happen to have a copy of and so on? Well, not all the Khazars, were people who, converted, that kind of thing. But you have to go to your Talmud, which basically, like the Bible, has the Old and New Testament. Well, what the Talmud is, brothers and sisters, is the Mishnah, which is basically sages that were discussing things among themselves. And then you have what's called the Gemara, which is meaning completion. In other words, you had the sages going at debates and disagreeing and agreeing in some cases. And then you had the conclusion of those debates. That's essentially what the Talmud is. Like the New Testament, it does not say, thus saith the Lord. It does not say, Ko Amar Yah. So you're taking essentially the words of a sage and then trying to make it par with the Torah, the word of the Most High God. And that's not good. You understand? So brothers and sisters, as we get into this particular matter, and as we get into this particular subject, we are going to conclude, and we hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. We hope and pray, brothers and sisters, that anyone who happens to have any questions, feel free. I'm going to put my number inside the live chat. That's to say 908-587-4841. And brothers and sisters inside of this here, that is 908-587-4841. I am free for texting, WhatsApp, call a brother. We're going to get more people onto the platform, brothers and sisters, so it just won't be me speaking all the time and so forth and so on. But I do appreciate the shares. I appreciate seeing the analytics on the channel as the subscribers go up. Is definitely welcome. To the brothers and sisters who did patronize the brother's book, it is definitely welcome, and so forth. And again, I am open to constructive criticism. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, creator, maker of heaven and earth. Keep each other in prayer. Pray only to Yah, the creator, maker of heaven and earth. We hope everybody is well and will be better. Shalom. This ends this particular presentation. All right. I'm learning more about how to use the StreamYard, connecting it to the Facebook Live. I got it to where it's now on the friends to able to see it, as opposed to me making it unpublic or nobody's able to see it live. But after it's been uploaded, I'm learning how to work in that particular case. So definitely open to constructive criticism. Let me know how to make the sound better, the quality better, this better. And if you have information you care to use the platform or a channel, you're definitely welcome to do so. So, brothers and sisters, let us close out in prayer, and then we're going to move on. Thank you. Most High, King of our forefathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we thank you for this time, for this understanding, for the knowledge of who you are and who we are. Be with us, guide, shield, and protect us from dangers seen and unseen. Be with those who know you, O Yah, and be with those who do not know. Be with those who think they know, and teach us your ways that we may even know you. King of all that there is, the one who created the sun, the moon, the stars, the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and caused trees and animals to come from it, and then later on us as your people to come from the people that you have made from the earth itself, O Yah. The one who used wisdom and understanding in establishing the circuits of the heavens and the earth. The one who created the earth and have it stand upon nothing. The one, O Yah, who heals diseases, who hears the cries of your people Israel, who sets the one from the dunghill to sit with the princes of your people Israel. Let your knowledge, O Yah, be with us, for those who know, those who do not, and those who think they know. Teach us all that we may truly know of you. Hallelujah. Amen. Brothers and sisters, we're going to conclude in this particular matter with the timing allotted. I try not to go over an hour, and if I do, I definitely try not to go over an hour and a half. But we intend to bring more presentations. Subscribe to the channel, Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons. And again, this coming Wednesday, November 1st, may my father rest in peace. This would have been his memorial. We're going to do a presentation regarding the last public Hebrew free class for more than one reason. And that will be on the channel, Mordeh Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons. I'm going to go live tomorrow. I intend to promote that and to share the link for those who are going to be interested. We intend to do that this so-called Wednesday from 7 p.m. all the way to 3 or 4 hours from then, just going over a lot of different things within the Hebrew itself and so on. Thank you for that. Shalom. All the way to 3 or 4 hours from then, just going over a lot of